Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Civivi Synergy 3. This is absolutely available right now. I will link it right down in the description. You guys can check that out if you want to. I'm sure you guys remember the most recent Synergy, the Synergy 2 by WE, which is kind of, WE does the more expensive knives, Civivi and Sencut do the less expensive stuff. So it's interesting to see the Synergy 3 coming out of the Civivi company. Anyways, thanks so much to WE/Civivi for sending this in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. Overall length of the Synergy 3, excuse me, coming in at about 7.5 inches. Blade length coming in at about 3 1/8. Cutting edge is about 3 on the dot. Just a couple of size comparisons today. No reason to go through everything. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. It's actually fairly close to the size of the Rat 2. It just has a little bit more presence. There's a little bit more meat in the Synergy 3. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? I just said we're not going to do them all. I guess we are going to do them all. Definitely closer to the size of the Para 3. Last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. Absolutely much closer to the size of the Bug Out, very close in cutting edge. The Bug Out still got it beat a little bit. You get used to doing the same things over and over again, and you try to change something, and then your brain, the subconscious part, is just like, nope, I'm going to do what I always do. Anyways, let's go ahead and do a hardware check on this guy. Get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive, very recommendable. You can find them right down in the part of my description that talks about my tools. I think that pivot is a T8. Yeah, T8, and then as per usual with Civivi, probably T8. Yeah, T8, everything except for the pocket clip screws, which are probably going to be T6. No big deal. Minimal hardware. Should be pretty easy to take apart, so we're good to go. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Curiously, it is quite a bit thicker than the Para 3, but you really don't notice it that much. Honestly, I had not done that until just now, and I'm shocked by it. The knife doesn't give off the impression of being a thick knife. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. It's a little bit longer than the Para 3, a little shorter than the PM2. Nowhere near as tall, even with this weird sort of exotic banana curvature. It's not it's not the same, it doesn't take up as much space height-wise as the PM2 or Para 3. It's really just in the thickness. Let's go ahead and measure. Oh my gosh, I can feel the rain down of the jokes that are filling my future comment section as I record this. The thick blade stock thickness, God bless America. There we go. Blade stock thickness coming in super duper 106 thousandths, nice and thin. Pretty typical for Civivi to push that mark. Materials, we're looking at very nicely textured. Really like that. Very nicely textured G10 as far as I can tell. Yeah, I was sorry. I said as far as I can tell. I know how to identify G10. Just looking back here, I was looking to see if those were thick liners or if those were all just part of the scales, and you can see it's the same sort of fibers that you're seeing up here. So this is all G10, and then on the inside we have, is it really? Yeah, it's all G10 there on this side. Probably up there we'll have like something steel for the bearings, and then you have the steel liner lock on this side. Steel is Nitro V. Weight on this guy, I don't know, 3.5 ounces. Hey, oh, pretty close there. 3.53 ounces. Not perfect ratios, but pretty good. Most people are not going to be bothered by 3.5 ounces, right? If you are, well, you know, okay. Everybody has their own preferences. Wear the right pants. Probably not going to be super duper fun in athletic shorts or light pant material, super tight pant material. Wear pants, and probably a thicker material is going to be more preferable. So yeah, there you go. Is there anything else that I need to do before we move on here? I don't believe so. So yeah, this has that same here's the designer's information. Same, of course, the same designer. Same look as the Synergy, it's just obviously it's different. Something that stands out right away is the texturing. This is actually really nice, and if I'm being honest, it does kind of give it a higher quality feel. This feels like one of those, you know, and I keep making the same joke. There's Civivi, and then there's Civivi, and then there's Civivi, and then there's We. It's the different tiers of kind of like inexpensive, you know, and then there's Sencut. But as far as the knives that matter, oh man, sorry, that was a low blow. I don't mind Sencut. It's just, you know, as far I start taking the line seriously at the, you know, kind of the low end Civivis. But you know, it's weird. You have the budget Civivis, the ones that are like 40 to 50 bucks, and you got ones that are a little nicer, and a little nicer, and a little nicer, and then you get up to the titanium stuff with We. This kind of feels like one of those in-between knives. It's definitely a nicer feeling than some of the lower end stuff, and the G10 really helps with that. Something that bothers me is there's just barely a cutout here to disengage the liner lock. And so when you do come from the side, those little teeth are just digging into your fingers. And I'm finding that I'm not able to come right from the side. I'm almost having to push down and then go over, and it's very pinchy, right? Oh, the tips of my fingers are suddenly under distress. It's not that big of a deal, but it's bothersome. But the finish, the overall look of the knife, right? The G10 texturing, and I don't know, maybe the tumbling on the blade, it just has a feel, a look and a feel it's a bit nicer than some of the basic Civivi stuff. The texturing is also super functional and pleasant, whether you're, you know, bare hands or you're wearing gloves. It's real nice. Traction's definitely going to be there, and up here it gets kind of multi-directional, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a nice texturing. I'd kind of like to see, you know, all G10 have either a horizontal or kind of a diagonal texturing. I mean, if we're talking about just purely out of function, this is really, really good. I like it a lot. The action itself is exactly what you'd expect. It's no better, no worse than any other Civivi I've ever handled. It's nice and snappy. It's not going to fall shut, but it's going to do the trick. The blade is kind of this trailing. It's like a Persian Tanto. I feel like we're naming Pokemon at this point. Oh, boy. Yeah, okay. You know, Tantos are good. You're definitely going to have that puncture ability. And it does get pretty darn thin down here. Yeah, it's pretty thin. The problem with Tantos is you have to sharpen two different angles. And this area right here, after you've had this for a while, where am I pointing? Right here. This area after you've sharpened it a few times, it's just going to look like something that got caught in a bear trap multiple times. It's just not going to look good unless you are really, really good at sharpening Tantos and making sure you change angle and it's very distinct. It's just going to look like meat, you know. Yeah, you know, that's just part of it. But the Tanto does give it some character, right? You take a look at this. If you've seen the Synergy before, it's real easy to look at those lines and go, that's the Synergy. Some other, you know, thing that they did, another little detail here is that they crowned the spine, which is nice. I'm not saying it adds a whole lot of cost to things, but it is nice to the touch, nice to the feel. It's nice to look at, right? Ergonomically, it's all right. It's not a perfect, you know, I'm not cramped in here, but underneath the flipper tab, I'm definitely feeling that. I'm absolutely feeling the gooseneck pocket clip. These things, they just really want this edge of this to be, and it's not quite coming over as far, but it's just like down, everything's good, and then boop, you know, really aggressive, way up high. Doesn't need to be that high. Could shave that down a bit, right? Use this again as an example. This is a little, I know it's not that much different, but it really does it makes a big difference in the hand. I think they should also be a bit shorter so that it's not digging right into your palm. But okay, it is what it is. It's a solid B, you know, of a pocket clip, no big deal. There's a backspacer, and it's basically just that. It's a backspacer. Oval-shaped lanyard hole thing. So, for lanyard people. There is no position to mount the clip. No position for the clip for left-handed carry. So sorry, lefties. Righties, Once again, this is made for us. It is set into the G10, which I prefer. So that looks pretty good. The pocket clip's definitely not going to move. In and out of the pants is going to be fine. You got a little bit of texturing to work against. They probably should have knocked that down underneath the clip. It's not going to be a big deal initially, but over time, that's the kind of thing that will fray your pants. If you don't care, then okay, you don't care, right? If you do care, you're going to have frayed up pants, just letting you know. The stop pin is right back here. There's shouldering in the closed position and the open position, so that's pretty cool. We didn't talk about the blade finish. I really do appreciate Civivi's tumbled finish on their blades. It looks really nice, and I would just love it if all satin finish Civivis went away and they were all tumbled. But that's my preference. Not everybody shares that preference, right? There's nothing wrong with the satin finish, in terms of actual use. I just prefer how the tumbled finish looks, and it really is making this knife look a lot more classy. It's helping it a little bit climb towards that price point, which we're going to talk about. Yeah, we're locking up. The liner lock is inset. Another nice little detail. Again, it's a little more expensive to do than a traditional liner lock, but not that much, just a little bit. Well, it's nice though. We're locking up here, super thin blade stock, so it's like 40 to 50%. It's just fine. No blade play, up, down, left, or right. We have no pivot lash, nice clicky detent, and no detent lash. How is the centering? I'm sure that it's fine. Yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe ever so slightly off center, but that's probably from flipping it. So you can just crank it back down. So this is cool. It's a cool knife. Ergonomics aren't fantastic. The Tanto, I mean, it's one of those things that has kind of a attention-grabbing aesthetic that's different from a traditional, like this is traditional looking knife, and this is kind of going off and doing its own thing, which is fine. I like it when knives have a little bit of character, as long as they don't stray too far from the path of function. Yeah, this knife will work. I mean, Nitro V, yeah, I don't have a problem with Nitro V. A lot of people, it's funny, the more that I read about Nitro V, you find that some people are just swear by it. Like, it's better than everything. It's got okay edge retention. I think it's just fine. Like, as far as the composition, you can look it up. Laren Thomas has made a lot of this. He's cleared a lot of the path for people like me and made it really easy. Since somebody like that exists to give a much clearer and much more scientific, explanation for how all of this stuff works and what it compares to, right? Check out Laren Thomas, Knife Steel Nerds, for information on Nitro V. I think it's a pretty darn good steel, and I certainly don't mind. I mean, the composition, right? I have to say the composition because, of course, heat treat and geometry play a gigantic role in how any blade will perform alongside the environment, right? Usage habits, how prone someone is to try and use it as a grappling hook, etc. So, yeah, you can check him out for details on that kind of stuff. I certainly don't mind the steel at this price point. The issue with the price point I have is that it's too high. They want $93 for this. Listen, is this nicer than a standard, like, okay, if you look up the Civivi Praxis, right? Great knife. What are they, 45, 50 bucks? Is it nicer than that? Sure. Is it $93 nicer? No, it's not twice as good. I mean, I can see them wanting like 65 bucks for this, And they've been kind of doing that here lately. They've been creeping these up, making slightly nicer versions of their standard models. It's nice to see the crown spine. I really like the G10 texturing. That's really, kind of helping out here. And then it's nice to see an inset liner lock. But do those details make this knife worth nearly $100? No, you're creeping into that's U.S. Kershaw territory. Like, that's a nice U.S. Kershaw. $93. Wow. No. No. Civivi needs to I think we all kind of saw this coming. Sen cut. They got the Sen cuts there, which, are kind of taken over for the $30 to $45 territory. And then a lot of the Civivi stuff is creeping up into the $70 to $90 territory. And then the Wii stuff is kind of still hanging out relatively in the same place, but oddly, some of the stuff I've handled here lately has elements that remind me more of Civivi. So It's kind of like everything is being crunched into this vise where we're not getting as much dollar for dollar. This feels like at max, it feels like a $65 knife to me. And while it's like, well, 65 to 93, right? You know, it's only, what is that? $28 difference. But yeah, that's a massive percentage when we talk about what, you know, like that's a massive percentage up when we're talking about where this, in my opinion, should be priced. I don't see $93 here. I have no idea why this has a $93 price tag. It's a neat knife, not doing anything new, not doing anything spectacular. It's based on something that came out. When did the Synergy come out? 2 or 3 years ago? Am I right? Or is it like 2 years ago? Something like that. It's a cool knife. Yeah, no, sorry. $93, you have so many other things to pick from. And I'm not just talking about materials. I'm talking about the overall, you know, completed knife, the overall presentation, everything there. And again, it's like this was manufactured in China. And, you know, it's not like I'm immediately like, well, if it's manufactured there, then it just can't. No, it's just the level, right? We're talking about this territory for a $100 roughly, or very close to $100 for Chinese manufactured knife. I've seen better, definitely. So this is okay, but it's not. It's at the wrong price point. Cool knife though. I still appreciate Civivi sending this in for me to take a look at. I really do appreciate that. Like I said, if you want to, you know, say, hey, Kick Rocks Complex, I like it, I really want to pick it up. Well, there's a link right down there, and you can do that if you want to. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.